What is going on, y'all? And welcome to Will TP's Comic Talk. And I'm coming to you live from Cambodia. Yeah, I'm in Southeast Asia for a while, but y'all, I'll be back in the States around June. So I wish I could go to my local comic store and get comics. That's a lot. I miss that a lot, just going to a comic store and just picking up comics, checking out the cover art, just looking at it, just smell of the books and all that. But when you're in a different country, you got to make some sacrifices. So I got the new Sentry miniseries, and I got this on Kindle. This is the only way I'm able to read comics right now. But hey, as long as I get to read it, that's all that matters. But we're going to talk about the new miniseries, The Sentry. I think it's a 4-book series. I'm not sure, but we'll see. I'm gonna tell you about the writer. The writer is Paul Jenkins. Art is by Christian Rosado. Colors by Matt Milla. I'm probably butchering these names up. Letter by Joe Caramangina, and cover art by Alex Maleev. All right, so let's get into the new Sentry miniseries. So overall, I liked it. It starts off with, Robert Reynolds, aka the Sentry. He's still having mental issues. If you guys seen the movie, I was about to say Expendables, the Thunderbolts, you know that he's dealing with, a personality disorder, and that's this character. His deal has been, am I going to be the Sentry or am I going to be the Void? Of course, the Void is his bad side, and I think that side is, the most powerful side of the Sentry slash the Void, because the Void is unpredictable. It has no limits. Versus the Sentry, he has some kind of control over his powers. So, and him being mentally unstable, you never know which side you're gonna get. So this book shows that right off the bat. He was away from the Avengers for a while. I don't recall, what part of the timeline. This was in the DC or the Marvel universe. I just picked this book up, because I thought it's going to be interesting, and it was interesting. But when he was the Void, he went to outer space, and I think he did a lot of messed up things to some civilization, some alien civilization. They didn't really go into detail, but he says, Robert Reynolds says that, the Void did a bunch of atrocities, basically, and he's not ashamed. He's ashamed of what he did. So maybe, oh, my bad, my camera kind of cut off. But yeah, he went out of space, the Void. He went out of space and did some bad things, basically, to some aliens. So I hope they go into detail in the next issue. But in this issue, the Void encounters Wilson Fisk. And I didn't know it was Wilson Fisk because the way the artist drew Wilson Fisk, he looks like really skinny. It's just a man with a bald head. So I thought it was just some Joe Schmo. I didn't put two and two together when they actually said they were in Hell's Kitchen, so I should have. But Wilson Fisk in this book looks small, no over-exaggerated body frame or nothing, so I didn't even know it was him. But anyway, the Void encounters Wilson Fisk, and I don't know what his angle is, but he says he's going to make Wilson Fisk pay. And later on, in the comic book, we see what happens. So I'm not going to spoil too much of the book, but basically, the Void has a issue with Fisk, and he's going to do some things. And then later on, Sentry goes to this press conference with the rest of the Avengers, and people are asking him where he's been. You know, he doesn't tell them in detail. He just says, you know, he's in outer space for a while. And yeah, just leave it at that. He's been out of space for a while, and he makes some jokes to kind of brush it off so nobody would ask too many more questions, especially his girlfriend. Speaking of that, him and his girlfriend, Bob, they have this dog, and they find out the dog is kind of, you know, getting old and possibly dying. So I think that has a lot to do with Robert Reynolds' psyche, and it's going to cause him, it's going to cause an effect. It's going to affect him down the line, I believe. You know, when he turns into the Void, he's going to basically just go crazy. And towards the end of this book, the Avengers tries to fix a situation that the Void does. You know, he gets back, he does something to Wilson Fisk, but at the same time, the thing he's doing to Wilson Fisk, he's affecting this part of New York City. So the Avengers have to stop what the Void done, and then let's just say the Sentry kind of fixes what the Void does, but he doesn't a little bit. You just have to find out for yourself. After that, the Hulk comes into play. So the Hulk's been missing too. So the Hulk has been, I don't know, it doesn't really, it says, but I can't really remember what he says, but the Hulk has done something, and he causes more problems that the Avengers have to fix. So when the Hulk shows up, he just starts cutting loose, causing hell, and the Avengers are trying to call Sentry like, hey, where you at? We need your help. But the Sentry's in the watchtower, and he's going through some mental things right now, so he's not responding. And basically, the book ends, you know, he sees something about his dog. I guess his dog, he finds out his dog is sick, and it just messes with his brain. And then he has to respond to the Avengers, and they basically just cut it off from there. You know, it seems like Robert's not going to help. Maybe he's going to turn into the Void again. But overall, I enjoyed the writing of this book. Who was the writer? Paul Jenkins. He did a good job. You know, the writing kept me interested. I'm curious to see what else the Void is going to do to the Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. The artwork by Christian Rosado was pretty good. What else? Yeah. I like this book, and I think you guys should check it out too. It's something new. I know lately Marvel's been struggling, but with the MCU films and everything, their books, you know, hasn't been that good. In my opinion, the absolute DC has been kicking ass, and I haven't been really keeping up with DC KO, but I heard, you know, it's pretty good. But y'all, I got about 3 more months before I get back to the States, so I can't wait to get back to the States and get back into, well, I don't want to say that I can't wait to get back to the States. I'm enjoying my time here in Southeast Asia. I just can't wait to get back in the comic book stores and just you know, having a comic book in my hand. It's a lot better than, you know, reading off a computer or a phone. But hey, that's all I got. Hey, make sure you guys check out the Sentry. It's a good start off to this miniseries. And if you're watching this video, I appreciate it to the end. If you watch this video to the end, I appreciate it. If you don't mind, you know, hit the subscribe button. Hey, drop a like, drop a comment, and I appreciate y'all. Till next time, peace.